So today we're doing a technical analysis of Carlos Mutapiri, a young Panthers midfielder, mostly playing in an attacking role. Is this one of Zimbabwe's great new prospects? Let's take a look. So the eye test starts with the ball being played across from the left flank. It crosses the penalty area, it goes to the other flank, there were no takers. Then it comes back in. You see Mutapiri positioning himself up and the ball falls kindly for him. He lets off his shot. Now the strike is off his right foot, it's got power and placement. Now Mutapiri is a relatively good goal scorer. He scores frequently. You find that he scored against Bundu Rovers, he scored against MWOS FC, he scored against Cheku Town. He's a very frequent goal scorer and his numbers do tally up and make sure that he stands out amongst some of the best forwards there. Now let's go back to the eye test and take a look at other contributing factors to how he does score and how he does engage in the goal threat opportunity. Now this next play starts in the middle of the park. There you see Carlos is in frame. He gets into running and into space and transitioning with the attack. They peer down on goal and he gets the ball. The strike is off his right foot. Unfortunately, he can't convert. Now this next play is more of an attempt in the box off his left foot, not as directed. It doesn't come off well, but clearly he finds himself in proper goal scoring positions, as you see from the eye test. Now another key aspect of Mutapiri's game is his goal involvement. Actually, he does a lot of key passes. You see him there, that little deft touch, push the ball onward, and it actually resulted in a goal. Carlos has the playmaker's instinct and he's able to convert his skills into assists from time to time, or not direct assists but key passes that actually influence the game. Play, you see what I'm talking about. He has a little flick on with his head there and you see it actually falls onto the next player, and there the overlapping defender comes through and is in a position to score. He has that general number 10's instinct, and I believe it's a position that actually can be natural to him. There you see him drop a little bit deep, receive, and do that little intelligent pass with a no look. I think generally situational awareness is evident. As you see in this clip, there he pickpockets that defender. He knows exactly what the pitch is like up front. You see him draw a couple of markers, make the key pass. That's the pass before the assist, you see, and they convert again. In this game, the young Panthers were predominantly on the front foot. You see Carlos coming through on the left flank there, making the run. He goes out of frame, but what happens is he goes through and he actually makes an assist off here. Ball comes inside and they actually convert and find the target again. So in this next play, you see that Carlos does drift a bit more centrally. There he's trying to find space. There you see him in the frame, but he doesn't find. He opts to come down and use the right wing for a release. In the next frame, you see him try a bit of fancy link-up work out the edge of the box, but it doesn't work out. That sometimes happens though. In the next clip, you see him try do a one soft link-up. It didn't work out, but the idea was okay. Now in the next play, you see Carlos come up. He receives possession. Could have been a better decision to play in field, but he opted for the flank. Now he's an improving player. These things could always be adapted. So in this next game, you see what I'm mentioning. So in this frame, Carlos is on the left flank. You see him there making offload to the left flank, and the pass comes through and Ralph converts. Now in the next play, again in the same game with a great performance, you see the ball come through there, and that's Carlos in frame. Takes the ball and he makes that defense splitting pass. You can clearly see the vision he has, and you only improve. In this frame, he's in the penalty area, a little bit of skill, 10, direct assist, but they didn't get a conversion though. Now another interesting aspect of Carlos's game is actually his passing. In this frame, you see him come up and he's in possession. They're on the right flank. He makes the decision to switch play. It could have been more in front, but still the idea was okay. In the next play, you see him again. This time there's an interception in the middle of the park. Gets possession, bit of a loopy pass, but he does get to the striker. The striker in this case though couldn't hold up, unfortunately. Now in the next play, the ball is on the right wing. They're attacking the opposite end. Now Carlos is at the edge of the area there. He gets possession and he makes a cross in. That's a bit decent, and I think his technique is proper off his left foot. Now Now in this play, we have a bit of a build-up in the middle of the park. Carlos is in frame. You see he receives a short pass, little 1-2 quick exchange, and it actually leads up to an attempt at making a cross higher upfield. Now I believe from the eye test, even though you don't have too many stats, we can clearly see that even his key passing over longer distance, you see there he makes that little pass. It's still in transition, but it's an effective play. So in this play, it's another build and transition from the middle of the park, from defense to offense. Carlos does that little 1-2 exchange. He's not the one who makes the final pass, which affects the effort in the box, but you can clearly see how critical he is in the build-up. Now continuing, this next build-up is from the middle of the park. You see there's a bit of a tussle for the ball. The passes it does are more on the shorter exchange. You see the little 1-2s there after the contestation, and he moves infield. Actually, I think they got a foul off that progressive play, but the accuracy was decent. Now in the next play, we see Carlos coming in from his own middle defensive third border and make that defense splitting pass. There's a run up. If you continue with the line of vision, there he does still another little pass, so to speak. 2 passes progressively in the right direction. In the next play, you see him more on the right flank. This is an offensive action. He's partnering with Ralph. Though there's a bit of a miscommunication, you can clearly see the idea was proper. The next clip, you see him do an aerial pass. We're going to cover him aerially a bit later on in the video too. Still speaking about his offensive play, and you see that in this frame, he's calling for the ball. I believe he's got intelligence in terms of where he wants to find himself and the ability to run onto balls, as you see in this clip. He's very much active in the final third and from the middle third, and he gets himself into those positions. So another key aspect of Carlos's game is his movement off the ball. Like if you see in this clip, he's between the middle third, final third. They're out of possession, but he's trying to move and see and respond to where the ball is. There you see him make a little run and try to find space. I actually believe if his teammates had a bit more confidence, I've seen his dribbling, he'd be able to receive the ball in those little pockets and maybe dribble out of them. I think this aspect of his game is another thing that's made him draw interest from some top European clubs and be up for trials. So in the next play, it starts off with a cross that's coming off the left wing. Mutapiri was already running in on the defense. You see there's an interception, but he goes through from that position and tries to rescue and make more of that ball. So in this next play, Mutapiri was running into space there. He didn't expect that from his teammate. A bit of frustration in that frame. Now the next aspect of the game we're going to be taking a look at is his dribbling. In this frame, Mutapiri gets possession. There you see he has very quick feet and he finds his bind out of 2 players. I think it's a very strong aspect of his game where he's able to take on defenders and he's confident about it. Here he's on the left flank. You see him receive possession, very calm about it, does that little quick turn, offloads. He's as calm and collected under pressure as you like. In the next play, you see him in the opponent's half. He comes through, he faces the markers and he does those little juggles, steps on the ball and distracts them and actually moves through. Gets closed down by the covering defender, but you can clearly see it worked for the fans and for the defense. There in the next play, you see him also try to find his way through. So I believe that he did run into traffic, he comes back and it offloads. So in this play, he receives the ball against 2 markers. There he seems to be traffic, but he knows the game and he plays a forward pass. Now in this next clip, Mutapiri, there you see collects the ball by himself. There on the left wing, he does a one-on-one. Quick pace, technique, tries to find a way around the marker. That's the confidence he generally has. In this play, MWOS is on the attack. You see Ray on the right flank. Mutapiri is in frame and he does that little quick one touch. Back heel, no look, progresses the attack. That's the sort of confidence he has on a good game and when the midfield is holding and he's supposed to be doing his offensive role. So there are cases where maybe you might be able to hold on to the ball too long, for instance in this one, but we can barely judge that. See that he ends up having to scrape for the ball and it's a turnover. He's fast, he could be faster. Here it goes in a bit more too-heartedly and instead he concedes a foul. So the under 17s are still developing, and so is Mutapiri, but in this play you see him do a little flick on and it's an assist. I believe aerially he's willing to put his head where it hurts more or less, and he does go up for duels or even aerial balls by himself. In this play you see him dropping in midfield and he's faced to the ball, in that he wins the duel, progresses the attack. Now in the next clip you see him coming up again, and he's actually able to get to the ball first again. He's got that little technique where he does jump, where he's in a stationary position, no run up. I believe his technique is okay. It could improve with let's say his physical improvement and age. We see him in this clip, he's more shy to go for the ball in heading, but he does make a challenge for that ball. It could have been a header, but the opponent wasn't heading. Now in this next play we're seeing Mutapiri is part of a set piece. It's an offensive situation where they would like to get a couple of headers in. Like I said, what we're going to acknowledge is his effort. If you see him in this frame, he comes through, it's a bit too high and they don't get to the ball, but at least there's an attempt. This next play is a similar attempt. You see the little run up, though they don't get the service, but I think if he develops in terms of his physical stature, he's going to be able to challenge for those balls. Here again you see him challenging in these sequences. He doesn't exactly win position, he doesn't win all of them, but he's jumping up. He's not a lazy player. So in terms of link-up play, Carlos mostly plays upfield, and you're going to see him in the middle third or the attacking third, playing those fast little tiki-taka passes and making progress up the field. There you see, though unfortunately they had a turnover of possession. In the next clip, Mutapiri drops a bit deep into the middle third, receives a pass, quickly offloads and runs into a half space, comes in a bit more centrally. They're playing it on the wing. MWOS, he continues his run into the penalty area. Unfortunately they can't make more of an offensive action as they run into traffic on the wing, but you can clearly see the intention and the intelligence. In this clip, transition to attack from defense. He sees space, makes himself available, has a quick chest pass and continues the run. Now in this play, the Young Panthers are out of possession. They're pressing. When they recover the ball, Mutapiri makes himself open. You see there, he receives the pass. The idea is great here, but there's a bit of a lack of power on the pass, but you can see the vision. I think at times Mutapiri shows a bit of good positional awareness. There he's trying to run into space, though the defense doesn't exercise this option or he chooses another one. The opportunity comes again, he's a bit pressed, but it's too open. Unfortunately the option isn't exercised again and it moves, but he was aware to it and trying to run into it. I think generally they found this game a lot tougher, playing not on big boys, a more physically imposing side. They found themselves in offensive position a lot less and defending a lot, but at times it did show that they had offensive quality in them. Now in this clip you see Mutapiri away to an opening there and he's running into the space. Unfortunately it gets closed down with that foul committed on the left back. You can clearly see his frustration in the frame there. Now off that free kick or set piece, you see Mutapiri is in the middle third, just bordering the attacking third. It's taken and there's an overlapping run there. Mutapiri comes to the edge of the box. You see he receives it. It's an attempt on goal cross, but it was a bit poor. Idea's okay, but execution. In this play, Mutapiri wasn't in that familiar central position. I think his positioning was off and maybe more said a bias towards playing the ball on the right flank there, but it really did cost them. You see actually they had a turnover of this play and that could have been avoided had he been in that position. I think the next aspect of Mutapiri's game is how much he presses. Like in the final third, he's very active. You see him there actually running down the defender, though he does concede foul, but he's aware to maybe some slacking in terms of defense and he's a bit pacey and he tries to make use of it. So in this play, they apply a system press and you see actually they corner the big boy is a winger. You see that the pressure they apply, they get the ball and they actually force a turnover. So in this current clip, you see Mutapiri actually apply pressure, running in from the middle third and forcing the defender into making a pass. He creates situations like that. In the next clip, he's more in a central position. Again, he tracks back and actually the pressure he places there on the midfielder forces an error and they get a throw in, so to speak. They get their turnover. In this play, Mutapiri is in central midfield. You see that the pressure applies, they help break up that forward passing system, though they are getting knocked about. Now in the next play, Mutapiri continued in central midfield. You see him as part of a system that's just forcing their opponents to play in their own half and not have any passing lanes through midfield. They had a very good spell at this time of the game, so to speak. I think it shows his ability, his value in central midfield, and his pressing up top. Right, in this next play, Mutapiri starts in the attacking third. You see that he's putting a bit of pressure. There he's tracking back and he's just forcing the midfielder to hurry his build up back, and that forces a turnover. They're in possession again. They have an opportunity to build up and attack. Now, if I have any criticism of Mutapiri, it's how he sometimes lacks in system pressing. There you see, they're in the attacking third, his teammate goes in for a challenge, he goes to ground, he hangs back while the supporting defender recovers, and they lose an opportunity to actually extend the vice grip there. I think they could have made a fruitful situation of that. In this play, MWOS and Mutapiri have left a huge gap defensively, and the opposition coach is actually calling to that. So Mutapiri tracks back, as you see in this play, and you're going to find him in position where he's actually supposed to be able to help block and maybe build up from. So when in position, his pressing even in his own defensive third is very useful. There you see him actually pressing the opponent's player and they get a turnover of it. In the next clip, Mutapiri is pressing a bit centrally. He does commit a foul, although you can clearly see that breaks up an offense that could have been to their detriment. In this play, in the opponent's final third, you see him coming through and he's part of a system that's actually forcing a situation. They are harassing the defense, little burst of pace, gets in front of the ball, shields, they get a throw in. In the next play, we're looking at his shielding and defensive game, so to speak. Now, you see in this clip, there he was pressing. We see him come through, make that run, and he protects the ball with his body. I've seen that physically, he can be able to hold his own, even in his own age group there. He'll grow into his body professionally, I believe. In this clip, you see him protecting the ball, actually wins a foul. Excessive force had to be used to wrestle him off the ball. In this clip here, it's more of a defensive action. You see that he's seeing the play and he runs to cover that midfielder as he goes towards the ball. Now in this play, Mutapiri is in central midfield. He's playing a defensive role again. He sees the danger and tracks back to make a challenge. The ref didn't like that contact and they get a free kick themselves. So in this next clip, Mutapiri is in central midfield. You see him see alert to the danger again, winning that duel and making that push up top or clearance, so to speak. So his situational awareness in defensive actions has been relatively good. You see it in this play. He's up top attacking. He's alert to the danger of the gap that's there, and he's running to make an assistance on the left flank. And you see him actually going for a challenge, and when the defender covers, he goes into the covering row himself. Cross doors come in, but they've closed down the danger on the wing, and the clearance is made from a central position. So this has been a technical analysis of Mutapiri, the number 24. We clearly see that in an attacking role, he has the vision, he's alert to danger at the back, and with time, he'll be able to hold his concentration, I believe, but I believe he's a very good future midfield prospect.